If you're a commuter on the Providence-Stoughton or Franklin-Foxboro lines of the commuter rail, you will pass through a station called Readville. The keen among you would have noticed a rather unconventional track layout there. What's actually going on here? Well, you've come to the right place to learn. This is Readville's track layout explained. This is a diagrammatic map of Readville Station. The gray track on the bottom is the abandoned Denim branch, which is still intact and very visible today. Above that is the Franklin-Foxboro line. Above that is the Northeast Corridor, and finally at the top of the diagram you have the Fairmount line. To start, let's take a look at how Amtrak moves through the station. Out of the 3 Amtrak services to originate from South Station, 2 travel down the Northeast Corridor, the Acela and Northeast Regional. Going north, both services usually use the track in blue, and going south, the center track is in use. Of course, it would be more sensible if the Northeast Corridor were quad-tracked here, but 3 is better than 2. Next, let's talk about the Providence-Stoughton line. This service, being the busiest on the system, has a mix of both express and local trains. As some trains do originate from points further south than even Providence, speedier journeys are important. But normally, Providence trains will head north on the track in purple, with the corresponding southbound service running on this track here. Another interesting thing to note that's really apparent from Google Maps is the difference in track quality between the 2 lines which carry Amtrak trains and the 99% commuter rail only track, with concrete ties on the 2 right tracks and wooden sleepers on the left. Tangent aside, it is important to note that while these are the typical service patterns, each track on this section of the Northeast Corridor is signaled for bidirectional operation, so things can vary. Next up are the Franklin and Foxboro services. These trains will always take some switches just out of frame of my diagram to climb a ramp leading up to track 5, which interestingly features Spanish solution platforms for a short part of their length. Trains to either Forge Park, Route 495, or Foxboro will always board from this platform if, and this is an important distinction, if they come from the Northeast Corridor. More on that if in just a second. But this is a physical restriction of the track layout more than it is an operational preference. Some of you may still be curious about the abandoned Denim branch, which I mentioned at the beginning of the video. The Denim branch is one of the most visible pieces of abandoned railway infrastructure in Boston, because these tracks were not fully abandoned when passenger service ceased. In fact, freight service continued to serve local industries until much more recently. I don't have the exact date, so if someone can fill me in, please do get in touch in the comments. The tracks are still there, a switch in place, but locked, and this level crossing still has its distinctive lights. You may have also seen the Denim branch in my intro sequence. The next thing to note is this siding here. You may not have seen it, and frankly, it's pretty insignificant. But you could occasionally find some Amtrak maintenance of way equipment here. Either way, moving back to the commuter rail services, there is one part of the diagram we haven't filled out yet, this viaduct and its associated platform. This platform is for the Fairmount line, which I've recently made a video about, worth a watch if you're interested in learning more. But that doesn't explain the viaduct itself, because Fairmount line trains terminate at Readville. The reason this thing is in place is because a small handful of freight trains need to access a yard that I'm not showing in this diagram. But the main reason comes back to that if from earlier, because some Franklin-Foxboro trains, instead of taking the curve to go via the Northeast Corridor, they cross this viaduct and travel into downtown by way of the Dorchester branch, or the Fairmount line for non-pedants. And finally, the last bit of intricacy worth noting at Readville is this curve of track here. Because this track plays host to what I believe is Boston's most bamboozling commuter rail service pattern. Because each day, there's one single train that has come up from Stoughton before taking this curve and following the Fairmount line into Boston. Funnily enough, and my diagram doesn't show this very well, due to the location of the curve, these trains can't actually stop at Readville, hence some of the bamboozlement. That said, I hope you enjoyed this video taking a look at this most unique node of the commuter rail system. If you found this video interesting, I'm already working on another one like it, talking about another interesting interlocking in the Boston area. So huge thanks again, and I'll see you around.